So, hello and yes, welcome back to another video, guys. Now, this is my end of the year video for TV. I'm counting down my worst to best TV shows this year. I was thinking about just doing the top 10, but I thought, you know what, let's just talk about more. I saw 21 TV shows this year, what I mean by that is like seasons that were released in 2019. And it's a very heat at the moment video. I haven't prepared no notes. I just took a screenshot because every time I saw a TV series this year, I'd add it onto my ranking. So I just took a screenshot off my phone. I thought, sod it, I'm not going to make no notes. Let's just roll. It's late at night as well, so the lighting's not very good. But anyway, I'm just going to count them down from worst to best. So anyway, let's get started. So last off, I want to talk about is Jessica Jones. This is a bit of a hard one for me to talk about because I was a big fan of Jessica Jones. I thought the first season was great. And the one thing I will say about Jessica Jones was Krysten Ritter was amazing and perfectly cast as Jessica Jones. David Tennant in the first season was obviously really well cast as well. And I always felt a bit bad for her, Krysten Ritter, because everyone talked about David Tennant in the first season. And while he was amazing as Kilgrave, Krysten Ritter definitely got overshadowed a bit. So season 2, she come into it as her own. I thought season 2 was okay. I thought it was enjoyable. But season 3, which came out in right at the start of 2019, I found it incredibly dull, incredibly boring, and you could kind of tell that they didn't know where to go with this character or this story after Kilgrave's story was wrapped up. So it's a bit unfortunate that it come to that, but then again, hey, it was just one of those shows which was very ready to end, I think, and it kind of forced this last season out. It wasn't terrible, but it weren't great. We're coming in at number 20 is The Walking Dead. That's right, The Walking Dead is it's a very interesting show. Now, this is, of course, the back half of Season 9 and the start of Season 10, because we don't get a season a year. We get the back half and the start of a season every year, the other way around. So you get the start of a season just before Christmas, and then you get the other half after Christmas. Yeah, I the only reason I'm still watching this show is because I've been watching since the beginning. It's kind of hard to stop watching it. And the show has started to get better again. Because I used to love the show up to like season 5, 6. And then it declined for me a bit. Season 8 was absolutely awful. I hated it. But then it went back up with season 9. The second half of 9, of course, which is one of the bits we're talking about, I found quite entertaining. We brought in The Whisperers, and I've read all the comics. I haven't read the last volume, though. Literally, I'm so close to finishing reading the comics. I need to finish them, really. But I read all of the Whisperers stuff, so it was really cool to see them get introduced. And the first half of season 10 started off quite well. It seemed about the same as the back half of season 9 in terms of quality. It's an improvement. It's good. It's not great. It's just kind of average TV. It's a lot. The show is improving from season 8, so that's always a plus. Number 19, this is a real shame for me because I actually had a really good time watching this all in one go. It's just everything else is better quality, I think, that I saw this year. The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, Season 2. So yeah, it's I never watched Season 1 when it aired. There was literally just a month throughout 2019 where there were no films out I wanted to watch, no other TV shows I wanted to catch up on. So I decided, you know, I'm going to binge watch Season 1 and 2. Season 2 literally just come out of Sabrina. And I really enjoyed binge watching it all. It's one of those shows where you can feel that there isn't the overarching story isn't as strong as it should be or could be. There's a lot of characters which are kind of just thrown in there which don't really need to be there, and stuff like that. Overall, though, there's a lot of good qualities to this show. But, you know, Season 2 was an improvement over Season 1, I think. But it feels a bit cheap at times this series. But it's a decent watch, though. So number 18 is going to go to Black Mirror. So Black Mirror, this is a bit of a hard one to talk about because it was only 3 episodes compared to other things that we've talked about. Like The Walking Dead is 16 episodes a year. So it's 16 to 3 episodes. It's hard to compare stuff like that, really. But I wanted to talk about it because it is a series and it was quite entertaining. It's the weakest season so far of Black Mirror, I think. I love Black Mirror, I really do. I've loved all of the first 4 seasons, and I quite enjoyed 5, but I think this is the weakest one of all. So out of 3 episodes, the first episode was the gaming one with Anthony Mackie, which I found quite good, actually. I found it very mind-boggling at the end, which I thought was good. The second episode with the guy who played Moriarty in the Benedict Cumberbatch Sherlock show, I thought his episode was the best one. I thought that was really amazing. And in the finale with Miley Cyrus, I thought was just okay. There was a lot of room for improvement in that one, but I thought it was alright. So I think we're at number 17 now, and I'm going to give this spot to Carnival Row. Carnival Row has the makings of a great show. It's the budget for it is insane. The visuals are incredible. Some of the cinematography is beautiful. And I think it is a good length as well. I think 8 episodes works. I have issues with the 2 lead actors. Orlando Bloom and Cara Delevingne are not great lead actors. Cara Delevingne actually held up her own okay, but Orlando Bloom struggled at times here. And there were some points in the story which I found ridiculous. Just for an example, the very first thing that happens to Cara Delevingne, she's on this huge ship and she's in the cargo hold, and the cargo hold is shut as the ship's sinking. And all you see is her hands coming up through the bars, you know, reaching out, her trying to grasp some air as the sink ships. There's hundreds of people on the ship. Next thing you know, there's a shipwreck and she's the only survivor. And there's no explanation as to how she got out, considering I would have said she was completely screwed. So there's just things in a story like that which really knocked it down for me, because it could have been a bit higher on the list if the show hadn't kept doing some really, really stupid things at times. So we're at number 16 now, I believe, and I'm going to give it to Good Omens, which was a very interesting show. I found this a very creative show, and it kind of pains me to put it this low. The reason I put it this low, though, is because at times I wasn't super invested. I feel like you loved your 2 lead characters, who are brilliantly cast, by the way. Mr. David Tennant again, of course. And other than that, all the side characters, the only one that I found interesting was Jon Hamm, and I think that's just because it was Jon Hamm. Other than that, I found this show was very creative visually. The directing was very cool. I loved the wackiness to it. Some of the costumes were great. But overall, it was kind of a forgettable show. But then coming in just before that, I believe this is 15. I'm getting the numbers horribly mixed up here because I don't have them in front of me. Is the one and the only, the great disappointment, Game of Thrones. Yeah, so Game of Thrones Season 8 happened this year, the much highly anticipated show. The reason it is here is because the visuals were fantastic, the cinematography was beautiful, the costumes were great, you know, the score was incredible. Everything that Game of Thrones normally does right, it done really, really well again. The writing, however, and I know this is a bit controversial because I unboxed the Blu-ray of Season 8 and I got a few people who actually defended the writing. And that's fair enough. If you like the way this series went, hey, that's, you know, we're all entitled to our opinions. For me, I hated the way this series went. Like episode 1 and 2, I was fully invested. I was like, okay, I get why, you know, we had to get the characters reunited. Second episode, oh, this is going to be our last time with all the characters because people are going to start dropping. Then episode 3 happened, and like people were in stupid places where they should have just died and they didn't. And what happened with the Night King was ridiculous, and then Daenerys' turn was way too quick. The finale, Bran ending up on the throne, really? Just wasn't a fan, unfortunately. But as I say, I didn't want to put it right at the bottom, really, because other people who worked on the show gave it their all still. And it had some really good moments to it still, the series itself. Just unfortunately, the writing for me personally was not good at all. Coming in just before that, 14 is Stranger Things Season 3. Now, I might be lying if I said I'm the biggest Stranger Things fan. I'm not one of these people who absolutely goes out raving about it. But I keep up to date with it because I feel it's an important show. And it is a good time. It's fun. I really enjoyed Season 1. I thought season 2 picked up really well, and I was thinking season 2 is not going to be able to follow it up. It's going to be silly, but it was actually quite good. Other than that episode, I think it was like episode 7 or 8, where it just focused on 11, Millie Bobby Brown's character. Season 3 come out, I thought, you know what, this is going to be a good time. And it was a good time, it was fun. All the actors were great. David Harbour, I'm becoming such a fan of that man. Even in Hellboy, even though that film sucked, he still brought a lot of life into it. And I can't wait to see him in Black Widow this year. It was a really, really fun show. I just felt at times it was a little bit silly. I know it was during the 80s, so you had the Cold War, the Russians and stuff, but I found the Russians a little bit funny at times, a little bit like, oh, okay, of course we're doing this. And also I found that the huge monster that we had in season 2 just went into a normal guy, and it just wasn't as menacing. But it was a fun watch. It was fun. I think it's the weakest season for me. Coming in next is Umbrella Academy, which is another Netflix one, which is a show which I struggled with at the start of it. I didn't quite know what to make of it. But then the more this show went on, the more I began to love it. It's a pure character development film. You've got these kids, it come out earlier on in the year, so excuse me if I'm getting some things wrong here with this one. But you've got this group of super powered people, sort of. I think they all have powers. Yeah, they did. And they're all grown up now. They were really famous. They were superheroes when they were kids. Now they're grown up. A lot of them are washed up and stuff. And it really, this show develops these characters so well. And by the end of it, you are fully connected. And it's a really, really good time. Coming in just before that is the last show I watched this year, and the one I wanted to watch to make this list. Also, I want to add, because I haven't talked about this yet, there are a couple shows which I haven't watched during 2019, which I wanted to watch, like His Dark Materials. So sorry if you don't see that on the list, or some others that you guys are going to point out. But coming in the next place is indeed The Witcher. So I haven't played The Witcher games, so someone who's played The Witcher games might enjoy this series a lot more than me and rave about it and give you better points and be able to talk about this more professionally than me. However, for me, just as a show, it was a very, very interesting show. The time jump thing I hated. I know at the end of the series it kind of made sense why they were doing it, but I hated it because I was just left confused at the start of some episodes. It took me a bit of time to figure out what was going on, which is never good, really. I mean, you want to be able to go straight into another episode and know where you are, who these characters are. But at times, I was just so confused. I was like, well, this person died. Why are we here? Some of the effects, visuals were a little bit rocky at times, I thought. But the sets were incredible. The choreography and the fighting was unbelievable. It's the John Wick of TV. There was a sword and dagger fight at the start of in episode 1, which I thought was just fantastically well choreographed. I loved it. Henry Cavill was fantastic in it. And overall, I had a really good time with this show. It was really entertaining. Next place, I believe this is number 11, so just missing out the top 10. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yep, just missing out the top 10 is Afterlife, Mr. Ricky Gervais's new show. Now, I'm a big Ricky Gervais fan. He's my favourite comedian. Some of you might have just seen him at the Golden Globes because he's blown up again for some of the amazing things he said there. And this show was so fun to... Well, I don't want to say fun because it is a very depressing premise to the show. But it was a very, very good watch. It was very captivating. From the word go, I was captivated by this man and what he was doing. You feel really sorry for him, but then at times you can tell that he's a really good man. And it's such a warm show like that. And I'm really looking forward to seeing season 2 coming out. I think next month. Might even be this month. Coming in at number 10 though. Excuse the language. But it's End of the Fucking World Season 2. Put a little accent on there for some reason. I don't really know why. End of the Fucking World Season 2. I watched End of the Fucking World Season 1 at the start of this year. Because I knew that the second season was coming out and I wanted to watch it. And my friend, who I'm going to be doing a podcast with soon, had begged me to watch this show. And I thought season 1 was absolutely incredible. I loved it. I thought it was so good. Season 2, I thought... was a slight slip in quality. It wasn't quite as good as season 1, but I still had a really good time. The 2 lead characters in this, as hard as it is to get behind them sometimes, you really do. And it's so well acted, this show. The directing is very different, very creative, and I love it. And it's a really weird premise to have a TV series about, but I kind of love it because it's so unique. But coming in at number 9 is a series which I really wanted to be in my top 5. I really wanted this to, and I had a lot of faith it would be, but it didn't quite make it. Number 9 is going to Peaky Blinders Season 5. Now, for those of you who are outside the UK, Peaky Blinders might not be the most popular thing. In fact, a few of these things on here probably aren't that popular outside the UK. But Peaky Blinders is probably the best show that is being put out by the UK at the minute. It's a BBC show. It's probably the most high quality BBC show I've seen this year. Haven't seen his Dark Materials though, because everyone tells me that's amazing. I'm waiting for the Blu-ray. So this is the 5th season, and I thought season 4 was potentially its best. And I think season 5 is probably its weakest. However, it's still really high quality, as you can see. It's not super low on the list. I feel like if I binge watched this, I'd have a better time because I did watch it weekly. But it was a fascinating story. It was really good. All of the actors in it do a fantastic job. The sound design and the score itself is incredible. The sets and the costumes are out of this world. The cinematography is fantastic. And it is just a really, really well-made show. Unfortunately, the story got a little dull at times for me. Coming in just before that, in number 8 is Living With Yourself. Living With Yourself is Paul Rudd's new show, which I love Paul Rudd. I loved him before he was Ant-Man. I remember him doing films like... I'm going to stall now because I can't think of any. I remember him being in The 40-Year-Old Virgin, Role Models, stuff like that. I really do love Paul Rudd. Anchorman. I've seen him in all those old classic American comedies he done. And then he got cast as Ant-Man, loved it. And finally, someone's given him a chance to do a serious role. I mean, he's done serious roles before, but like, first time after Ant-Man, his first big one. And this show was fantastic. He had to play himself twice. The dilemma in it was incredible. Like, you really put yourself in his position while you're watching it. Like, I wonder what I would actually do if I was in that position. And I loved the cliffhanger. I really hope we get a second season of it because I feel like there's a lot of potential there to carry that on and keep making that show great. It's a show that kind of come out of nowhere. I thought it was a film when I first saw the trailer. And it's one that I hope people go and watch still because it was really good. And I feel like it did slip under the radar. Coming in number 7 is Fleabag. Fleabag Season 2 this is. Again, I watched Season 1 in preparation for Season 2. I had to binge watch it both seasons back to back pretty much. And yeah, I loved it. I thought Season 1 had a couple issues. So Season 2 was pretty flawless. The first episode where they're having this meal, really awkward family meal, I thought was just incredible. Phoebe Waller-Bridge is just absolutely incredible in this series. She's fantastic. No wonder she's eating up the awards at the Golden Globes, and I'm sure she will in years to come with other shows she does, because it shows how talented she is. The whole way through this show, I was just captivated by the things that were happening. It was just so well put together and so well written. All the jokes landed, and I love the awkwardness to it. It's so British, but I love it. Number 6 is going to Sex Education. Sex Education Season 2 is just about to start, and I can't wait. Sex Education was a show which just made you understand every character almost instantly. You get an instant feel for what each of these characters are like. And then you really, really grow to love all of them, even the ones that you are not supposed to like. And I just found all of them so mesmerising, and I enjoyed spending time with all of them. Like, all of the characters, all the side ones, they're just really fun. It's a great character-driven story. At the start of the series, it almost seemed like every episode had its own agenda, but then it all kind of linked together at the end. And it's really interesting because a lot of this people can relate to, and I think I can relate to a lot of this show as well at times. And I loved it. I thought it was absolutely fantastic, and I can't wait to see Season 2 at the end of this month, I believe. But the top 5, here we go. Number 5 is going to Barry, Season 2. So this is Bill Hader's show. I believe he writes most of this as well. And in fact, he directed an episode in Season 2. And it just so happens to be the best episode. There's an episode around the middle, which I don't want to spoil it too much. But it involves a girl doing karate and them kind of chasing her down, Bill Hader and his mate. And it is flawless. It's one of the best episodes of TV I've ever seen, period. Bill Hader, what a man. He's made such a good show here. I feel so invested in every character here. Hank, oh my god, for those of you who watched it, Hank is the funniest character to come out of TV in the last couple of years. I can't believe that not more people talk about him than already do. It's a great show. It really is from start to finish. It's a short show. All the actors in it do an incredible job. And I just can't recommend the show enough. It's fantastic. But coming in at number 4 is an Amazon Prime show, and that is The Boys. So The Boys is a really interesting take on superheroes, which I think we very much need. Superhero films do get repetitive, and 2019 was definitely a big year for superhero films, with Avengers coming out and whatnot. And, you know, even the DCEU had Shazam. You know, superheroes are invading everything, and I know that some people have gotten a bit sick of it. Not me, I still like them, but I can understand why people got a bit sick of them. However, The Boys is a really unique take on it, and I feel like people who don't normally like superhero films and shows would actually probably really enjoy this one. It's something that Justice League didn't have the balls to do, and it takes what I wanted from the film Brightburn and goes further with it. This is what bad superheroes are like, corrupt superheroes, and I love it. I think it does a great job at it. It's very smart, it's very funny, and all of the characters are done really well again. So, The Boys, really like it. Top 3. Now, my top 3 shows this year, I love them all equally. I saw 3 TV shows this year where I walked away from all 3 just going, that was just bloody incredible from start to finish. And I really don't have many bad things to say about any of them. But this is the order I've put them in. So coming in at number 3 is The Dark Crystal. So I hadn't seen the film from the 80s. I think it was very early 80s. I don't think it was late 70s. I'm pretty sure it was late 80s. I have seen it since because I loved the show so much. I was a bit skeptical going into it. I thought, puppets, I don't know. But it feels so good, this show. The puppets are incredible, especially the Skeksis. They look incredible. It feels very Lord of the Rings-ish, like Middle-earth, adventure, fun. And again, you get really connected to all the characters and the voice actors. My God, they're fantastic. You've got Mark Hamill, Simon Pegg. I'm having brain farts here. I can picture the actors' faces in my head. Taron Egerton. God, what's his name? Lucius Malfoy. Can't think of the actor's name. But I'm doing a terrible job here. But there are so many huge actors in this, and they're all absolutely fantastic. And some of them you can't even recognise. Like, go into it, don't look up who Simon Pegg is. Just go in there, see if you can spot Simon Pegg. That's all I'm going to say. The Dark Crystal was incredible. The reason I put it 3rd and not number 2, because it was very nearly number 2, is because I thought the finale was really good, but I felt like it could have been a bit better. But it was just a fantastic show, and I'm praying, and I can't wait to see a season 2. Coming in at number 2, though, the show that I kept flip-flopping it with is The Mandalorian. Yes, Star Wars' first live-action show. Oh, thank God they finally did a live-action show. Don't get me wrong, I love Clone Wars, I've loved Rebels. I think they've both been fantastic. And Dave Filoni is probably the best man working at Lucasfilm right now. But The Mandalorian was absolutely fantastic. It was a show run by Jon Favreau. Dave Filoni got to work on it as well. There was a bunch of other directors who come in to work on it, including Mr. Taika Waititi, who people know from Thor Ragnarok, Jojo Rabbit, Hunt for the Wilder People. He come in to work on the last episode, and the last episode was absolutely fantastic. It was my favourite episode. I loved episode 1 through 3, and I loved 7 and 8. The middle ones were still really good. The show dipped a little bit, but it was still very entertaining. And hey, the show gave us Baby Yoda. Come on, is that not enough reason to put it in your top 5? It is. But coming in at number 1 Now, this is a show which I watched earlier on in the year, and I put it on, and I think I put it on when the 3rd episode was airing, and I binge watched all 3 one night, and I had to be up super early the next morning, but I couldn't stop. I had to keep watching because it was so good. And then for the next 2 episodes, I watched them as soon as they come out. It's the show that captivated me the most, and it's a mini-series. I think we all know what I'm talking about now. Number 1 is going to HBO's Chernobyl. Chernobyl was just fantastic. I don't know what to say about it, really. It was just absolutely incredible from start to finish. Everything about it. I didn't know much about Chernobyl. I'm very uneducated on Chernobyl. I knew that no one could go there because of the radiation. I knew it's from a power plant, and that's pretty much all I knew. I learned a lot. It was so fascinating. Some of the things that happened in that were just unbelievable. The acting was great. The directing was great. Just the visuals were fantastic. The grittiness of it. I loved it. I thought Chernobyl was absolutely perfectly executed. And it was just a fantastic show. But there we go. That's my ranking of all of the TV shows I've seen throughout 2019. Really, there weren't any bad ones. I didn't watch any TV shows that I didn't like. The bottom ones are just okay. And then we got some good ones building in some absolutely amazing TV this year. We had some amazing TV this year. We had some amazing films. But that is it in terms of all my rankings now. I've done my films. I've done all of my films. Then I've just done a top 10. I've done my TV series for you guys. But I am going to do top 10 most anticipated films for 2020. We're already into 2020. So I'm going to try and do that video soon for you guys. But there's my TV shows for this year. I hope you guys have enjoyed it as always. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, like the video, leave a message. And I'll see you guys next time for another video. Bye-bye.